They say monsters hide in the dark, that they wait in alleys or crawl beneath beds. But I've always thought the real monsters blend in. They wear clean shirts. They smile at neighbors. They pay their taxes. I know this because I am one of them. My name doesn't matter. It never did. Names are for people who want to be remembered. I've never been interested in that. I'm the kind of man who holds the elevator door open for a woman with a stroller, who tips his waitress, who shovels the snow off the neighbor's sidewalk without being asked. I blend in. That's the key to everything. You have to be forgettable, because when people forget you, they stop watching. I grew up in a town just like this one. Neat lawns, picket fences, 4th of July parades. My father was a pastor. My mother played the piano at church. We prayed before every meal and smiled through gritted teeth. My father preached about sin on Sundays, then beat the hell out of me every other day. My mother never looked me in the eye. I learned early on how to shrink into silence, how to smile when I wanted to scream. That kind of discipline stays with you. The first time I imagined it, I was 13. There was a boy at school, Tyler, loud, popular, always shoving people around. He once held my head under the water during swim class. Everyone laughed. That night I stared at the ceiling and imagined breaking every finger on his hand. One by one, slowly. That thought comforted me, more than prayer ever did. But I never acted on it. Not then. I knew timing mattered. Control mattered. You can't let it out too early. You have to study people, understand what makes them soft, understand what makes them bleed. By the time I was 28, I had the mask perfected. I was the guy who knew your dog's name, who remembered your birthday. I worked at a hardware store. Nobody suspected anything. Why would they? I was boring. I made people feel safe. That's what made it so easy. What most people don't understand is it's not about rage, not for me. It's not even about hate. It's about curiosity, about power. What happens if I do the one thing everyone says you must never do? What happens when I cross that line and don't look back? I had already chosen her, not by name, not yet, but I had been watching. I always watch. I don't chase. I wait. And when the time is right, I make it quiet, clean, controlled. That's the difference between me and the rest of the world. They react. I plan. And now, I'm ready to begin. They say the first time is the hardest, that your hands tremble, your breath catches, your stomach turns. That was not my experience. For me, the first time felt inevitable, like the final piece of a puzzle sliding into place. There was no rush of adrenaline, no racing heart, only silence, purpose. I met her at the library, not in some shadowy alley or late-night bar like the movies would have you believe. She worked there. Her name was Emily, 25, maybe 26, soft eyes, polite voice. She always wore these oversized sweaters that made her look like she was hiding from the world. I noticed her before she noticed me. That was important. I studied her routines, her tells. People don't realize how easy it is to map a life. Monday through Thursday, she worked the morning shift, took the same seat on the bus, got coffee from the place across the street. Black, no sugar. She didn't talk much. She didn't walk with confidence. She shrank into herself, which meant she didn't have anyone watching her closely. That's what I needed. Someone no one else was really looking at. She smiled at me once. I was returning a book, something about woodworking. She said, "You always bring them back early," and I just smiled. That was enough. A seed. You don't need much to build trust. A smile, a memory, a name. I started returning more often. Sometimes I wouldn't even check anything out. I'd just walk past her desk and say hi. She began to recognize me. Once, she offered me a library card, and when I said I already had one, she laughed. That sound stayed with me, not because it moved me, but because it told me she still had warmth, and that made her breakable. One night I followed her home. It wasn't hard. She lived in a second-floor apartment above a dry cleaner's. No doorman, no cameras. The hallway light flickered. Her window had a yellow curtain with small flowers on it. It was quaint, innocent. I didn't approach, not then. I wasn't ready yet. I needed to be sure, needed to know she was truly alone. So I watched. Every night for 2 weeks, I stood in the shadows across the street, in a hoodie, ball cap, earbuds in. To anyone walking by, I looked like just another guy waiting for a ride. But I was watching everything. What time she got home, when her lights went off, how often she used the microwave, whether she locked her windows. Patterns, habits, mistakes. She made one. Every Thursday night, after work, she took a walk. No purse, no phone, just her headphones and a jacket. She walked the same route, down Main, cut through the park, circled the old post office, then home. 15 minutes. Tops. No one ever walked with her. No one ever waited for her. That was my opening. I chose the date carefully. Not a holiday, not near rent week. No reason for extra eyes. I picked a night when the forecast said rain. People stay indoors when it rains. Fewer joggers, fewer curious eyes. I prepared the clothes, gloves, a change of shoes, zip ties, duct tape. I practiced the knot 3 times a day for a week. I'm not sloppy. I don't improvise. The night came. It was colder than I expected. A slow drizzle. I stood behind the trees near the park's edge. She passed by, humming something I couldn't quite make out. I stepped out at the exact spot I had mapped. Not too fast, not too slow. She turned, startled. "Oh," she said, "it's you." And just like that, I knew she remembered me. That moment, it didn't feel like a climax. It felt like a transaction. I reached into my pocket. She noticed. Her mouth opened, but she didn't scream. She never got the chance. What happened after, I won't describe. Not because I feel guilt, but because this isn't a story about violence. This is a story about the silence that comes before it. The way the world looks the same the next day. How nothing changes on the surface. The birds still chirp, the buses still run. The town doesn't grieve for someone it never noticed. The next morning I went to the library. No one said anything. Her desk was empty, but people assumed she was sick, or late, or tired. I returned a book. The clerk smiled. The sun was out. And just like that, life went on. Silence is addictive, especially when no one tries to stop you. Days passed after Emily. The library remained quiet. No one had replaced her yet. Her desk sat empty. People assumed she was sick. Maybe she'd quit. I kept returning my books on time, just like I always did. Inside, I felt something close to peace. Not regret, not guilt, just stillness. For the first time in a long time, the world seemed to move at the same pace as I did. Like I'd dropped some unbearable weight I'd been carrying for years. People smiled, cars drove by, the sun set, and I was just as ordinary as any of them. But being ordinary takes effort. So I did everything the same. Got the same coffee, rode the same bus, showed up at work on time. I even attended a neighborhood meeting one evening, suggested replacing the broken lights in the parking lot. My neighbors nodded. "So thoughtful," they said. But the nights, The nights were different. I kept replaying Emily's walk in my mind, the rhythm of her steps, her breath, that last look. I didn't think about her to mourn her. I thought about her to remember control. Those moments were like trophies to me, and though the silence remained, it now echoed with my own voice. You did it. No one knows. No one saw. No one suspects. But that echo carried another whisper. What about the second? 2 weeks after the first, I began walking at night again. Grocery store trips were the excuse. Being outside among people calmed me. Looking strangers in the eyes and knowing they had no idea what I had done. It was a slow, intoxicating burn. One evening, an old police cruiser pulled up across the street. A young detective stepped out, about my age, shirt slightly wrinkled. He pointed at the recycling bin I'd left by the curb. Do you know an Emily Walters? I blinked. Was she the girl from the library? Yes. She hasn't been seen in several days. Did you notice anything unusual? I shrugged. Not really. She was quiet. Maybe she moved on. He didn't say anything, just looked at me. These types don't ask with words. They ask with silence. I gave him my answer the same way. I'm just a regular guy. Forget me. He left, but he left something behind. A flicker of curiosity. That night, for the first time, I looked in the mirror and felt something shift. It wasn't fear, but I knew I needed to be careful. Very careful. In the days that followed, things began to change. Emily's name started showing up on the news. Her family was looking for her. Her face was everywhere. Facebook posts, missing flyers, soft piano music under TV footage. I watched it all while sipping my coffee. No rush, no panic. But people forget. News moves on. Other disappearances take the headlines. People return to work. The library hired someone new. Life, once again, went on. Only something inside me was more awake now. About a month after, I saw another woman walking at night. She had a flashlight, no headphones. Her eyes were sharp. She looked strong. I wasn't interested. Then I saw someone else. I didn't know her name, but there was something about her posture, some quiet sadness. Her clothes were plain. Her walk was cautious but not confident, like she'd been living on instinct for years. And so I started watching again, but this time it was different. I was more careful, more deliberate. I knew what to look for now, where I'd made mistakes before, where to stand, what to wear. I wasn't just prepared, I was smarter, which also meant I was more dangerous. One night, while taking the trash out, that same detective returned. He was holding a photograph in a folder. Didn't say much, just held it up. A torn piece of Emily's bag, a faint blood stain. Does this bother you? He asked. I looked at it. Should it? He smiled. Sometimes you remember things. A small detail. Neighbors, a noise, a light, a shadow. I nodded. Nothing stood out to me. You sure? Absolutely. Then he left. But this time I watched him go, because now he wasn't just asking questions. He was looking, probing. Maybe it was instinct. Maybe it was nothing. Maybe it was everything. It didn't matter, because now the game had begun, and I was already preparing my next move. They say every hunter makes a mistake eventually. One wrong move, one breath too loud, one thread pulled too tight. But what they don't understand is, sometimes the hunter doesn't make a mistake. Sometimes the prey just changes shape. It had been 3 months since Emily, 2 since the detective last showed up, and in that time, I'd been perfect. I blended, I watched, I waited. My new subject the woman with quiet footsteps and eyes like broken glass. I knew her routine better than my own. I had mapped every corner of her world. I was ready, but something had changed. It was subtle at first. I started waking up at 3:17 every night, same minute, every time, a thin film of sweat on my back. No nightmares, just the weight of being seen. I stopped eating breakfast. I forgot my boss's birthday. I missed the bus one morning, and instead of waiting for the next one, I walked the 5 miles in silence, just to feel the cold. One night I saw the detective again, not at my door, not in uniform, just sitting across from me at the coffee shop I always went to. He didn't look at me, just sipped his coffee, flipped a page in his book, and left. But that was enough. He knew, or maybe he didn't. Maybe he just suspected, but that didn't matter. Suspicion was a virus. It spreads, it eats, and I could feel it moving under my skin. I started cleaning compulsively, scrubbing the floor with bleach, burning old receipts, counting knives. I checked my door lock 5 times each night, then 6, then 7. That woman, the one I'd been watching, she stopped walking her usual route, changed it, took a different turn one night. No pattern, just vanished into the noise of the city. Did she feel me? Did she know? Or was it just a chance? I couldn't be sure anymore. And that, more than anything, terrified me. I'd built my life on certainty, on rhythm, on clean cuts and quiet disappearances. But now, everything felt offbeat, tilted, like walking on a floor that used to be solid, but now shifted with every step. Then the envelope came. No return address, just my name. Inside, a photo, black and white, grainy, but clear enough. It was me, standing in the shadows near the park, watching Emily. No note, no threat, just proof. My hands went numb. I burned the photo, flushed the ashes, cleaned the sink twice. But the image stayed with me. Someone had been watching the watcher. I wasn't alone. I never had been. For the first time in my life, I panicked. I considered running. Different state, different name. Erase everything. But fear is sloppy, and sloppy gets caught. So I stayed. I tried to live as if everything was normal, but it wasn't. Every knock on the door felt like a battering ram. Every siren like it was meant for me. Every time the wind slammed a window shut, I jumped. I was unraveling. Then, one morning, the detective was back. This time, with a warrant. My apartment became a crime scene. Every drawer, every tile, every page of every book, torn apart. They didn't find anything. I had been careful, obsessively so. But care is no longer enough when someone is watching you breathe. He looked at me as they left. "You're good," he said, "but you're not invisible." The next day I went to the woods, not to hide something, not this time. I sat under a tree for hours, listening. Birds, wind, the occasional bark of a dog, the sounds of a world that didn't know what I'd done. Or maybe it did, and simply didn't care. I closed my eyes and tried to remember Emily's face. Not her final moment, not her fear, just her. Her smile when she offered me that library card. Her voice. I couldn't. It was gone. I had erased her even from myself. And I realized something. I wasn't the hunter anymore. I was the haunted. They didn't need to catch me. They already had. Because you can't outrun the echo of a scream you silenced. You can't unsee the hollow space you left behind. And no matter how quiet you are, guilt is louder. That night I wrote everything down. Every detail, every name, every time. I didn't do it for forgiveness or redemption. I did it because I wanted someone to finally know who I really was. I mailed it to the detective. No return address. A week later they came. No guns, no yelling, just a knock. I opened the door, and for the first time in my life, I felt human.